Hello, my name is Tom Cheney, and today I'm going to talk about the weather and climate of Alaska in three different locations: Delta Junction, Kenai, and Bethel. Delta is in the interior of Alaska, Kenai is on the coast in south central, and Bethel is in the southwest. I'm going to start out by talking about Bethel and begin by looking at the week of January 29th and beginning with the sunset rising at 10:12 a.m., sunset at 5:48 p.m., solar elevation of 11 degrees, and solar radiance of 37. So here we have a graph of Bethel for that week of January 29th. You can see the temperature for the day in red, and then you can see the averages, the high and low, which are the dashed lines, and those are up here. So when looking at this week, we can see it's significantly colder than the average climate temperature. See, it rises a few times, drops again on Tuesday. It's fairly cold, starts to rise again. Still significantly colder than what is usually expected for that time of the year. And then by Saturday evening, you see a large spike in not only surpassing the averages of the highs and the lows, but exceeding that during Sunday evening when you're around, anywhere from looks like 20 degrees Fahrenheit to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. On this graph, we have the pressure for that same week. We can see that we start off here at close to 1020 and it starts to begin to drop. This drop is around the same time we're seeing this real cold spell around that time. Here's the low point right here, raises up, starts to get higher and higher, and then as our pressure starts to increase, we're starting to see that increase in temperature too later that week during Saturday and Sunday when temperatures really started to spike up. And then we see a significant drop again in pressure. So this could be significant of a low pressure system moving in and a high pressure system moving in. Um, yeah. Here we have a graph of dew point temperature. We have the relative humidity as a dashed line, and then the dew point temperature is the blue. So we can see that for that day, our relative humidity is fairly consistent, at least for that week, sorry. And then by the end of that week, it starts to drop again and then rise, and we do actually reach that dew point temperature right here. So at this point, we may see some significant fog or weather, ice fog potentially. Next, we're going to look at Bethel again, but this time for the week of March 25th. So a little later, closer to spring, still kind of cold. But here we see temperature graph. It has our average high, our average low, and then the red line is what is the temperature for the day. So we can see we start off kind of cold, rises up Sunday, drops again around Monday, rises back up to Tuesday, Wednesday, it's fairly warm, drops again Thursday, rises back up Friday, and then drops significantly through the weekend. And looking at the pressure for that same week, we can see that we start off at a fairly high pressure during that really cold point of around 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is fairly cold for Bethel. And then it begins to drop, and as the pressure drops, that's when we start to see that increase in temperature. And it's continuing to drop, dropping, and at this point, when it starts to peak again, we start to see that decrease in temperature. And by Sunday, midday Sunday, we're around 0 degrees. Really cold for that time of the year. Here are the dew point temperatures. So we can see that we're getting a lot of relative humidity and dew point temperatures coinciding with each other, so we could see some potential weather events from that. Now let's take a look at Delta. We'll start off with that week of January 29th. We have a sunrise of 9:32 in the morning, sunset of 4:20 in the evening. You get around 6 hours of light, 49 minutes, 8 degrees of solar elevation, and 27 solar radiance. Here for that week of January 29th, we have the temperatures. So in the red line, that is the current temperature for the week, and then we have our average line here for the average climate, the average temperature of that month. You have the low and the high. So we can see we're significantly lower than what is normally seen for that time of the year. So we're seeing a dip in temperatures here, and then by Saturday and Sunday, when it was beginning to try to rise throughout the week, we see another drop again to around 30 to 35 below. And then by Sunday afternoon, we see a significant increase back up into the averages for that month. Here we have the pressure, so we start off here at around 10:15, slopes down, starts to drop again, and that's when it actually starts to try to warm up around delta. And then as it's rising, it starts to drop again. And then as it gets to this point, you see a significant change in temperature related to pressure. Here we have our dew point temperature. So we're seeing a lot of overlap here throughout the week. And then through relative or dew point, we're seeing a significant increase by Sunday. Taking a look at March 25th, we can see that the sunrise is at 7:23 in the morning, sunset at 8:15 in the evening, getting around 12 hours and 52 minutes of light, a little more angle of the light at 28 degrees, so you're getting a little more solar radiation actually penetrating to the Earth, more so than when it was 8 degrees, and it's more spread out. And then you have a solar radiance of 96. Here is delta in March for that week. So we start off fairly consistent with our averages for that month. And then it even exceeds on Tuesday and Wednesday a little higher than usual. And then by the end of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're seeing significantly colder temperatures than when compared to the average for that month, the monthly average. The pressure here, so we're seeing it at around 1022 to 1024, rising up again, and it's consistent with that kind of like average temperatures for that month. Starts to drop again, rises up, then this is where it starts to get real cold here, and we see a drop again in pressure. Dew point temperature, humidity again. It's actually fairly consistent the whole time. It's constantly overlapping. So we could see significant potential for fog events, potential precipitation. Now let's look at the Kenai. Start with January 29th. And for that week, on that day, you can expect a sunrise of 9:29 in the morning and a sunset of 5:07 in the evening. 7 hours and 38 minutes of light. You're getting a solar elevation of 11 degrees and a solar radiance of 37. Here is the weekly temperatures, and we can see that the averages here, highs and lows. We start off the week a little colder than what we're used to in the Kenai, and it starts to rise up, rise up, drop again, then eventually we're back into the averages, and it's fairly consistent with what you would see that time of the year according to the monthly averages. And then we start to drop off again. It gets a little colder, tries to get back up, and stays cold until Sunday evening. Here's the pressure in relation to that. So we can see a dip here when we see a rise in temperature around Wednesday, I believe that is Wednesday, yep. And then it starts to rise again. And then by Sunday evening, we're back up to about 10:24. Here we have the dew point temperature. You can see that throughout the week, the dew point and the relative humidity um, adjust, and sometimes they do overlap, especially here on Wednesday when we saw that rise in temperature. Now let's take a look at March 25th for the Kenai. Let's see, on March 25th, sun rises at 7:48 in the morning and sets at 8:34 in the evening. Gives you about 12 hours of light, 12 hours and 46 minutes of light. And then you're getting a solar elevation of 31 degrees and a solar radiance of 100. So here we have the temperatures, kind of all over the place, a lot of ups and downs here. That could be due to the fact that it's March, though. And the sun's coming back out. It's a little different. We're getting a lot of fluctuations in nighttime temperatures and daytime temperatures. So here we start out like right on the line with our monthly average, starts to drop, rises back up again that evening, then starts to drop late that night, rises up again later that day, drops. So we're seeing a lot of fluctuations when compared to the monthly averages for the highs and the lows, but still kind of like within range of what's normal here. And then for the pressure, you're seeing the pressure at around 1024, rise, drop again. You're seeing that drop with that kind of rise in temperature there where it got around 50 degrees, and then drops again and stays low throughout the rest of the week. You've got the dew point temperatures almost consistent with the temperature as it's fluctuating up and down, different times during the day, a little wetter in the morning sometimes. You're getting dew. You may still be getting some frost potentially. So these temperatures again, yeah, you could still be getting frost and some snow. You could be getting a lot of moisture in the mornings. So when looking at that week of January, um, you can see here on Sunday, January 26th, we have two low pressure systems down here that are creating some weather. So we've got some snow down here. We've got some snow in the Aleutians on the southeast, and then coming into the Kenai here, we're getting some weather. Um, Up in the interior, it's a little colder. We're getting that fog and that snow, so we're getting that typical ice fog here in Delta is what it looks like. And then in the southwest, we're a little closer to that high pressured system, still close to the low, but we're not receiving there's a little bit of wind there, but there's not too much going on in terms of precipitation. February, what is this? Sorry, Sunday, February 2nd. We can see that there is a low pressure system coming in from the southwest, and it's pushing up through the Aleutians into the southwest and near Kenai and Bethel. It's creating a lot of precipitation in terms of snow. We're getting snow in the interior and even on the Alaska Range over here. Nothing really by Delta, but there may be some. Um, yeah. No, oh, it looks like a high pressure system over by the Yukon and the Northwest Territories over here. So a pretty stable area when compared to this low pressure system, creating a lot of weather. Here's Sunday, March 22nd. So we're seeing a low pressure system up here from the north pushing down. We're getting some wind and we're getting some snow events here on the west coast of Alaska, close to Bethel here, almost two on the southwest. Looks like Delta's getting its own amount of snow there related to the high pressure and this low pressure system's colliding. Um, Looks like down closer south here, you can see the Kenai is actually fairly calm down there at this time, near that high pressure system. Here's Sunday, March 29th. We can see that outside of Alaska, there's a lot of events going on. We've got low pressure systems running into high pressure systems. We've got low pressure systems down here by the southeast, pushing up, creating a bunch of snow here for southeast. There's that high pressure system up here. Looks like Delta's doing pretty good. It's fairly calm here between the two high pressure systems. Now Kenai is getting probably some sleet, snow, um, pretty wet conditions over here by Bethel, right next to the high pressure system. It looks like at the moment it's not receiving much, but could be here as soon as this low pressure system begins pushing its way over, potentially. Just kind of some visibility images for that day. So you can see the water vapor, infrared visible. Same for that day. When thinking about in terms of who's more susceptible to climate change, it's hard to say for sure who, because you can look at Delta and you can say, yeah, you're inland, but they're receiving a lot of wildfires related to climate change. There's a lot of effects related to the permafrost melting around that area too. And then you go to places like Bethel, where it's a lot more remote. They're affected more by the erosions of the coastline. And then you have the Kenai, which is also on the coast, which is affected in its own way. It gets a lot more pressure in terms of you get a lot of tourists, you get a lot of people down there. You get a lot more development when compared to Delta and Bethel. But I'm gonna have to say Bethel probably will have the toughest time because they have the least amount of resources available to them, and they're in a location where the melting of sea ice and the changing of the climate is going to very much impact them. I think more so than Kenai and Delta. Thank you.